Hi there, and thanks so much for joining me for another tutorial. I'm Erin Eno, and today we're going to have fun just painting these super loose watercolor flowers. I'm just using one color for the blue flowers and a bit of negative painting to get the white flowers. So grab your paints and let's get started. To start, I'll just go through my materials for you. Today I'm painting in my Strathmore visual journal. It looks like this. You're supposed to tear this off, and it has like a nice little faux leather cover. It's cold pressed, it's 140 pound, but it is not 100% cotton. It's just a cellulose paper. It's 9 by 12. I also have my Royal Talons Van Gogh paints, a jar of water, a paper towel, and I have two brushes today. Both are from Curry's, which is a local art store. I have their size 10 round in their 2500 series and a size 6 round in their 2400 series. So the other day I was doing a quick, loose, relaxing floral, and I thought it would make a great tutorial since I was doing it in this sketchbook, which is cellulose paper. And if you're a beginner and you haven't invested in cotton paper, this is a great little tutorial to do. So I'm going to start with my number 10 brush. My water's not all that clean, but it's okay. And I'm just going to tap blotches of water just in random places on my paper. You might even be able to see it because there's so much tint in my water, but that's okay. Okay, so then I'm going to go into my Prussian blue, and I'm only going to do blue and white flowers. So I'm not mixing blues and going all crazy. So that's why this is just kind of fun and quick. So I've got a lot of pigment on my brush, and I'm just going to start putting in some blotches of blue, and I'm going to let them do whatever they want to do when they hit the water, if they hit dry paper, whatever. You can go back in and push the paint around if you want. Just do one over here. And remember to leave white space because you're going to be putting in white flowers with some negative space painting, okay? But right now, it's all about the blue and just putting some color down. I don't want this bouquet to go round on me. I just want it kind of, you know, not round. Okay, so I think that's enough for the blue. I'm gonna go in with a clean, damp brush, and you can just start pushing some of this blue around. And you're not thinking petal shapes. These are just random shapes that are going to eventually be flowers. Okay, so don't think about it too much. Just gonna have fun with it and put the color down. So now I'm gonna go into straight Prussian blue. Did I mention that it was Prussian blue? I think I did. I hope I did. Okay, and I'm just gonna tap some in some areas on these guys. Not thinking about it too much. You can always go in and add some back in later. I may even have too much down there, who knows. Then I'm going to go into some green, and I'm going to take sap green and olive green, which will make the sap green a little more yellow. Okay, I'm going to push some of that to the side, and then I'm also going to add a little bit more. Oh, that was a dark green. I don't want that. I had some Payne's gray in my palette. I'm going to add a little bit more yellow to just brighten up that green a bit. And I'm just going to start adding in some really rough kind of leaf, not really leaf shapes, are they? Just kind of blotches as well, but they're going to be leaves. It's going to be greenery, basically. That might be a little too much water. Okay, so just kind of squiggly, rough shapes again, even for the leaves. Now, when you come into this area, you want to start thinking about where you want your white flowers to go. So I kind of see one going here and definitely here, maybe down here too. So if you want one on the edge, you have to remember that you're going to paint around it, and that's your negative space, okay? And it doesn't even have to be a whole flower, because it can have like a blue flower sitting on top of it. It can be a flower that's kind of on its side, so you wouldn't see the whole flower head. So we'll put one here. So that's a flower there. That's going to be a white flower. Then I'm definitely going to put one there because it's just calling out for one for sure. Okay, so again, bringing some leaves in and some greenery. We can deepen that up as well, the greenery. And I see a little kind of a white flower here. Just going to mix up a little more of my green. And the olive green. Maybe even a flower here. You can do one and just put greenery on the edge of it up here. And you don't have to worry about doing a perfectly round flower shape either, okay? Because the leaves would be on top of the white flower, underneath the flower, whatever, just all over the place. I'm actually going to mix up a bit of green with some of the Prussian blue in it, just to make a little bluish green here, just to kind of shake things up, add a little interest to the greenery. And you don't have to fill in all the white space either. You can leave some of that. You can bring some of the leaves out. Like I said, I don't want this turning into a perfectly round bouquet, so that's why I'm just kind of dragging some of this greenery out and down. You can deepen it up underneath this flower. You can tap some dark green in there. That's a big white flower. I'm just going to kind of reduce the size of that puppy just a tad. I think we can even afford to put in a peak of another blue flower here. Not too big, just a little impression that there's something there. Okay, and while I've got the blue on my brush, I'm just going to go back in and deepen up some of the blue flowers where they've dried, just to make them really rich. Just like that. Then I'm going to dry off my brush and just kind of blend this out a bit, soften it up. And I don't like what's happening here. Make that a little richer. Now I'm going to switch to, actually, you know what? I think I want to make this a white flower too. I'm going to see if I can pick this up. I don't know if I can. We'll give it a try. Yep, that's okay. So I'm going to switch to my number 6 brush. I'm actually gonna go in and just do a little bit more greenery over here. I don't want to fill it all in, but I just wanted to kind of balance that out a bit. Maybe add a little bit of tone to these guys. Okay, so with my number 6, which is what I was intending to do here, is I'm just going to go into my Payne's Gray. And for the white flowers, I'm just going to take a little dot and put it in the center and start to make these look like flowers. When I say center, I mean center of the flower. I'm not doing it to the center of the blob, because that will make this look like it's kind of off-centered and there's a blue flower on top of it. So you don't necessarily have to put these little dots right in the center of your flower. We can even make this one look like a little guy over here, just like that. Okay. And then I'm going to rinse off my brush and I'm just going to put in the lightest amount of Payne's Gray on these flowers, just to give them a bit of shape. I should probably wait until those centers dry, but it's very light. I'll probably have to go back in over top of it anyway, but I just want to give it some shape right now, just so I know that everything's kind of working. Okay, and then for the blue flowers, the Payne's Gray will dry too light, so I'm going to use straight black. Okay, and I'll put a dot in here, and maybe one here. This one, you might not see it. It looks, I'm kind of getting the impression that one's on its side a little bit. This one here, that's going to bleed a bit. That's okay. And this one, that can be a center. This little guy here. And maybe this one too. Why not? So as you can see, the brush strokes are really kind of loose, and some of them have soft edges, some of them have hard edges. There's no rules here, which is why I like this kind of painting. And I'm just going to go and tap in. Actually, I'm going to add a bit of black to that green so it's really dark, and just go and just add some really dark areas to some of this greenery, like here under this flower, might be a little shaded. Okay, so I'm just adding some depth, and you can see I'm still leaving little white gaps in there, because if you don't, it just won't look loose and natural. Not that this is realistic, but you know what I'm trying to say. Maybe put a few more leaves kind of hanging down here. But as you can see, they're not even leaf shapes. I'm just throwing in some green. I'm just playing around. If you have the room, you might be able to even put some stems in there, but I don't think I'm going to bother doing that. That's totally up to you. A little bit more green on this guy. Okay, so I kind of like it like rough and just kind of all over the place like that. All the different tones of the green. So I think we'll leave that. I will go back in with the Payne's Gray, like I said, and just try to get a little more depth in the white guys. Okay. Don't get carried away with this though. You don't want to make them look like gray flowers. You still want them, you want to make sure they still kind of pop. And I think that's enough. So now I'm going to mix up some more green and we'll throw some stems in. And I'm just going to do just a bunch of curved stems. Okay, going in different directions, just all throughout the bouquet. I'm not going to do any leaves down here because we're going to put these in a vase. I do want to make sure it's kind of centered though. I think that's not too bad. Then I'm going to I'm actually going to go with my bigger brush again. We're going to throw a little glass vase in here. So I'm going to get some Prussian blue, mix it in here with my little bit of Payne's Gray that I had there. Okay. And just do a little wash first because I want to make sure I get this right. And I'm not going to start it here. I want to start it up in the flowers as if the flowers are kind of hanging over the vase. So I want this kind of round glass vase. Just like that. Hopefully I can get this kind of even on the other side. Not too bad. I'm just going to turn my paper here because I want a little base on it as well. And I'm running right to the edge of my sheet here. Maybe do a little line to be the base in the back. And I'm going to clean off my brush. And I'm just going to blend this out a bit. Okay, and I'm not going for realistic here. This is not what a glass vase looks like, but if you do this enough and put a few highlights in there and some lowlights, it'll just give you the impression that it's a glass vase, and it'll do the job. So I'm also going to take my brush and just pick up some of these stems and pat them up with my paper towel. Maybe didn't need to go that far, and that's just going to look like a little highlight on the glass where it's reflecting from the stem. I'm going to leave it a little soft on that one edge. You can also just tap on the green here, a bit down here, and just very lightly tap some of that up. Not that that's what it would look like in a glass vase, but it just kind of gives it some interest. And I'm going to go back to this bluey gray that we had and just do this line for a water line. That might be a little dark. Then I'm going to take darker pigment and go just along the outer edge of the vase. This one was still pretty wet. It's going to bleed a bit, but that's okay. I always say that's okay. I'm trying to convince myself it's okay, I guess. Then I'm going to do just a darker line, just not touching that, but just a little bit away from it. Okay, just like that. And then I will blend that one out. Not the very outer one, just the second one that I just put in. You can even bring some of it in to look like water. We'll soften this up a bit too. Maybe put the back of a water line in there. I'm just playing around at this point, really, as you can see, because my water line is totally not straight. You can even add some darker values up here, as if it's kind of got shadows, even though I don't think you can cast shadows on glass, but oh well. It's all good. I'm just going in with a little bit darker now. Just on the very outside. So before I finish up, I'm just going to add a little bit more depth into some of the greenery just in the center here, just to give it some real depth and a little bit more contrast. Again, not too much, just enough to make things pop just a little bit. And there you go. There is your loose blue and white flower arrangement with a little bit of negative painting. I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial and that you found it helpful, and I really hope you'll give it a try. If you do and you're on Instagram, please be sure to share and tag me so I can have a look. That's it for today, guys. Thanks so much for joining me, and I'll see you next time.